Okay, welcome. Well, thank you all for coming out today. We may have a few stragglers kind of coming in. There was a wreck on Ohio Street, and I think folks are kind of navigating traffic and things, so there may be folks walking in and out here for the first few minutes. But I'm Ryan Keller. I'm the CEO of Thrive West Central, and I just want to say thank you all so much for coming out today for this event. This is something that we felt after a lot of communication and a lot of work over the last couple of years, kind of working with individual builders and working with the utility companies, that there's a need within our region and our community for a deeper integration when it comes to planning, when it comes to just operations, when projects are going, and really connecting the two sides of these equations together and developing good working relationships. So we have a lot of those. They already exist in today's climate, but there's always room for improvement, and there's always ways that we can do things a little different and learn from each other and develop new ways and new operations, new methods to really streamline things and ultimately cause a lot less stress and headaches and save time for everybody, save money at the end of the day. So we are thrilled to be able to have some of our utility partners here and a really good group of builders and community partners with us today. I'd like to start off and kind of just tell you a little bit, if you're not familiar with who Thrive is and what we do and what our role is here within the community, and then we'll kick it over to our utility partners and have them do introductions. So just a little bit of history on Thrive. We have been around since 1968, and our old name, our legal name still, is West Central Indiana Economic Development District. I came to the organization in 2019, and when I did, it was part of one of my rebranding initiatives to say, how do we get a name that is a little less than a mouthful of West Central Indiana Economic Development District and Area 7 Agency on Aging and Disabled Services? That was our long name back then. So we consolidated into just Thrive West Central, and that's what we've been using ever since, and that's what you probably know us as today. We are structured in 4 different divisions or 4 different program focus areas. We're the Economic Development District, and that's an official title that we get through the U.S. Department of Commerce, and it comes down through the Economic Development Administration. So we work with local government partners, and we do economic development infrastructure grants with EDA, the Economic Development Administration, and we help offset what those infrastructure costs are going to look like for large projects. One of the projects that we're working on right now is with Rose Holman and their new Innovation Grove out there. You'll see a sign out there that says something about EDA along 42, and that was one of those grants. I think it was $2.1 million that came to offset some of those utility costs there. We do community development, we do a lot of grant writing, we do a lot of redevelopment work with communities, but we really are kind of aligned under the U.S. Department of Commerce as that kind of quasi-governmental partner that works between the private sector and the governmental sector to help save taxpayer costs and at the end of the day move projects forward. Earlier in the name I said we are the Area 7 Agency on Aging and Disabled Services, so that's an official kind of program and division area. We work with folks that are from kind of birth to end of life and all sorts of programs that helps them age in place, age in their community. Our goal with everything we do in that is to help people stay in the setting of their choosing, often at your own homes where you feel most comfortable, instead of going into an institution. So instead of going into a nursing home or a facility for long-term care, we help them do whatever kind of home modifications. Maybe you need a ramp, or maybe you need a low floor or a high-rise toilet or a low floor shower. We will work then with the private sector to put those in, and we provide funding to do that. We have about 42 different programs all within that service area, so we stay really busy, and it's one of our largest divisions with Thrive. Our next programmatic area is transit and transportation. So you see the little buses and the vans driving all around West Central Indiana that say Thrive on them. That's us. We're going around giving people rides for employment, doctor's offices, basic needs and services. We do that. And if you also notice on the roadways, a lot of the time you'll see little black tubes that you drive over. That's usually us. We're doing traffic counting, and we're an official partner with NDOT, and we do a whole bunch transit planning that comes back to local communities in the form of community crossing dollars and grants and services that way. And then last but not least, probably one of our newest divisions is housing, and that came out of kind of what happened after COVID. Supply and demand went crazy, prices shot up. We realized, hey, we've been underbuilding for a decade or two, and we need to, but our comps were low. And so there was a gap in what builders were trying to do and what they wanted to accomplish. And often that gap created financing challenges, and at the end of the day, it often would convince builders to say, I don't think I want to take that risk because it's just not a good opportunity. There's too much risk on it for me to be able to go out and build on speculation and really create new housing for our community. So we were able on a pilot, just kind of a whim, it was an idea that a few of us had, and we said, well, READY is a state program that was coming down through ARPA dollars through the state of Indiana, and we said, what if we tried to de-risk what that gap looked like for builders? And really, it was just a back-of-the-napkin idea that we had getting a beer after work one night. And we said, what happens if we were to take a couple $1 million and we said, how many houses could we build, giving a small incentive to close that gap? What would that look like? What do we need in our community? So our first pilot with that, when we wrote the state and we put in for this grant, was we were gonna go up to 10% of what the home's value was, and we thought we could do 60, 65, 80 houses, and that's where that would get with a couple $1 million. When it was all said and done, we got about 1.8 million, and then we didn't realize the state's going to take their cut to manage that grant, so we ended up with about 1.54 million, and there we were out there creating a program, kind of flying by the seat of our pants and saying, okay, what's this going to look like in the builder community? We totally surprised ourselves. We realized that folks really came to the table, they really supported it, they were surprised at first, and it was like, there's no way you're really doing this, nobody ever helps builders. How can this really work? And we said, well, we're going to try it, so bear with us. We're going to hit some bumps and bruises, and we're going to do our best. So we ended that program just here in December. We're just kind of wrapping up the last bit of paperwork with the state and the final payouts and those kind of things. Ballpark, rough numbers, I think we're going to be somewhere around 130 some housing units that we created, and we were somewhere around 36 million of private investment. I'll have more details probably in March once we get everything closed out, and I'll be able to tell you really hard numbers. But that totally surprised us with $1.5 million that we were able to more than double the amount of housing units that we thought we could create, plus put that much new growth to our tax base and assessed value. So it's win-win for everybody. It was a win for the builders, it was a win for local government to grow their tax base, and it was a win for utility expansion, and also ultimately the consumers and the employers that live within our community here where they needed housing for more workforce stuff. So that kind of got the ball rolling, and here we are now several programs later, and we're still going. Our program dollars will go through 2028, and that's what we have right now. That's what we can see into the future. So as we continue to grow and try to navigate what this looks like and create really great programs that support the builder sector, and then also create good outcomes for our all the partners in the community, from local government to state partners, federal partners, and private sector partners and public sector like utility companies, you're going to see us continue to roll out new endeavors. So this is just one piece of that pie, working with utility partners and streamlining what that looks like, and it really starts to set the stage for the private sector saying, hey, I see a piece of property, it would be perfect for houses, I'm ready to go purchase it and build. I know where the water line or the utility lines would end up going, and I think I'm ready to go. What we've seen through some of this is sometimes it's that simple, but other times the utility partner may have to say, well, we'd love to pull that water line from this road and go over because it's the shortest way. However, we have an alternative path that we have to go for whatever reason. and then it will add more cost, and sometimes it will run people out of that project and say, ooh, now these numbers don't work, we're not able to move forward, or now I have to go back and redo things. So this meeting is really driven to start to overcome those kind of challenges and really start to have a good open dialogue. So how this meeting cadence will go today, we are getting ready to introduce our utility partners. We're going to give them an opportunity here over the next 30, 45 minutes to really kind of have a fireside chat. We'll break and we'll go into lunch, and we'll do some presentations and conversation there. And then we'll come back for a really open Q&A, and you can ask kind of any questions. I'll have you stand up, or at least loudly voice your question. I'll repeat it through the mic so everybody can hear it, and then we'll pass it on to our utility partner to answer. Does that sound good? Yeah. Perfect. So thank you so much for listening to my long introduction of who Thrive is and what we're doing, but I want to set the stage so we're all on the same kind of knowledge base as we move forward today. So I will start first with introducing Jennifer Isbell-Scott from CenterPoint Energy. Jennifer, the floor is yours.
Good morning. So I'm Jennifer Isbell-Scott. I'm with CenterPoint Energy. I'm a lead key account manager. I manage our large industrial customers. So if you think about like your large manufacturing, schools, like your steel mills, the hospitals, those types of customers, large volume gas users, that's kind of what I manage. I cover a territory from Lafayette to Terre Haute, here in Terre Haute, and I've been with the utility for a little over 20 years now. I started out in engineering for 10 years, and then I've been over in industrial sales and economic development for about 10 years. And with us today, I have, stand up. I have my manager at Energy Solutions, Lee Akers. Can you not hear me?
It's a little hard to hear.
Okay, all right. And then Tyler Engel, he's going to be the lead key account manager for residential and commercial sales. And I think his first day in our group is on Monday. But he's been with CenterPoint for about 10 years now. So the builders and any developers in the room, you want to make sure that you connect with him over lunch. We'll pass it on to Duke.
Okay, I like to give a 30-minute speech on Duke Energy, so hold on.
We have an air show coming up.
We have an air show coming up, August 22, 23. Well, first of all, thanks for being here today. Let's start off. My name is Rick Berger. I think I know most of you here. I'm government community relations for Duke Energy. I'm going on 49 years with them. Going to get 50. Adios. So let me introduce, guys, just stand and give your name and what you do. I'll just let you introduce, please.
Hi, my name is Bob Rice. I'm a rebate rep for Duke Energy. I work mainly with contractors, engineers, and architects to make sure you guys are getting rebates to help on projects.
Good morning, Brad Pierce. Title's DRS. Basically, I'm a scheduler. I schedule all the work for the crews once we get the prints from engineering and work a time to get those all taken care of.
I'm Dustin Kirby. I'm construction and maintenance supervisor for here in Terre Haute.
I'm Jessie Cook, and I'm the large account manager for the area, and I do the same thing that Jennifer does at Duke Energy. I'm Christy Thompson, and I manage our Smart Saver energy efficiency program for residential customers in Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky. And if you can tell, we share DNA.
Yeah, as you can see, we have twins. Well, first of all, just thank you. I'm looking forward to questions you have, and you know, we cannot make it better unless you let us know. I hope things are going pretty good, but I know we can improve. So I'm looking forward to your comments. Keep it very informal, and if we can't give you an answer, we'll get an answer for you. Matt?
Matt Koenig, Area Office Support Manager for Duke Energy. I cover the Clinton, Terre Haute, Greencastle, Avon areas. Work with, obviously, Rick and the rest of the group. I've been with the company about 27, going on 28 years. Mostly work in the engineering, planning on the front end, that sort of thing. So looking forward to the questions.
I'm David Baker. I'm the senior manager for Indiana American Water for the west side of the state. My territory goes up to almost Gary and then finishes down in Sullivan. JD, I saw you back there. Hello, friend. To be able to do that, I've been with the company about 19 years. I started off in customer service and then moved into operations to be able to take care of that. We have a team here in Terre Haute. That's where I'm based out of. In the back row, the guys are back there. Ryan McCord is the production superintendent. Russ Whalen is the distribution supervisor, and Doug Foley is the distribution superintendent. So local contacts, that's your team to be able to get with. We are based out of Greenwood, and so all of our projects run through our engineering department through Greenwood, and we can explain to you how that goes and work you through that.
Sure. All right, well, thank you so much. So, David, we have a short presentation from you. Do you want to go ahead and start from that? I'm going to start with a few questions.
I can go through the presentation. Can you all hear me without the mic? It would make it a whole lot easier to not do that. So, with the requirements for the service for eligibility, the one thing, if I could give you any advice from the get-go, if you are looking at a lot, you need to get in touch with us before you get going too far. And the reason behind that is where mains are located. And I would share that with you with any utility. Find out where your utilities are located so that you can see what it could require. There are different state requirements in the Indiana Administrative Code that have to be followed, and we cannot move those or bend those because of it is Indiana law. So just a little bit behind it for the requirements for the service. So if you look here, this lot right here is where the builder is wanting to look at. On here, the water main stops right back here. I think there's a hydrant right there, it looks like. The builder wants to build. It is a requirement under Indiana Administrative Code, Article 6, Rule 1.5, that the main has to be extended to front that property. That is a developer-installed main extension. There's a couple of things that I can go through later with you to talk a little bit about that, but if there is no coverage, it has to be covered. This is a different situation. It's not a Terre Haute situation. You can see the roundabout up there, but the builder wants to build on this parcel, and they want to develop it. There is no main fronting it, but if you also look, it's unique in the sense that it is a corner lot. Corner lots have to be fronted on both sides. So this has one frontage on the north side of the property, but there is not frontage here. So the requirement would be under Indiana Administrative Code that that would have to be covered. This lot right here, water main stops right here on the corner right at the beginning of the lot. It's a corner lot. Indiana Administrative Code requires that the service line, the main front both sides of the property. That's where it becomes unique in talking about the fact that helping you with your plans when looking at that to be able to get that water main extension to know how you're going to get water. The other situation that you've got to think about is fire flows. There are different requirements from the fire department that require for different developments. So if you have a subdivision that's single houses, there's one flow that has to be taken care of there that has to meet so you have fire protection. Also, my friends there, hey Marcus, hey Brad, there is another situation. There, you need to get with the city to talk about, because Brad, you and Marcus can explain this to them later if you want to, but there is a requirement that if there is, 1,000 feet, Marcus, I think it's 1,000 feet that you're to a main, that requires to be able to come over to get that main extension to provide public water service. So there's a lot of requirements that go into dealing with when you start building these subdivisions and things like that. So when it comes down to it, developer-installed mains, developers can install the mains to serve their proposed development, but it's at their cost. That is how we do it. And then you can gain what's called a subsequent connector fee. In other words, if you run your main for this side, somebody wants to connect on this side for 10 years, we have to collect a subsequent connector fee for you. If you build your subdivisions or you build your houses, then you can get developer refunds also for that based on 3 years of service. Question then becomes, here is the free, is it ever free? Most cases for residential development, I'm just going to tell you, no. It is usually large users that have to require capital investment to get there and use a lot amount of water. If you want to talk about that and see if it would ever qualify, that we'll have that discussion, but it's unique situations. In this situation of upsizing mains, we may see future development coming in and you may require an 8-inch main. What we would do is tell you, we want you to install a 12-inch main there and we'll pay for the upsizing. You pay for the 8-inch size, whatever that would cost, and then whatever the upsizing fee is, we pay the difference. And then for revenue refunds, this is explained there. I'm not going to go through it a lot. I'm just telling you that we can talk about that through. It's all described into the packet on how that is calculated and done. And then, let's see, subsequent connector fees. That's talking about if you install the main and somebody on the other side gets there. Again, that can be a discussion that we can talk about with your project. And that is a very quick overview of developer installed mains. If you have questions, I'll answer them. And if I don't know the answer, I know the people to ask them to get that done for you. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you, David. I appreciate that. If you don't mind, David, I actually have some questions on that wonderful PowerPoint. Can you go back to one of those pictures, the last picture that showed the kind of brown field where you had to go on both sides of the frontage? Let's go back right
There
there.
you go. There you go. Yeah.
So this may be a silly question for a non-developer, so you may laugh at me here a little bit, but let's just say this looks like a really great parcel where you would put a lot of housing on. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to point to the screen. So let's say you're going to go down, you're going to kind of zigzag it through a field like a normal housing development would go.
Mm-hmm.
You still have a requirement that you have to do a main down both sides of the frontages here since it's a corner lot. Are you able to zigzag through, start here, zigzag through, and then allow an outlet on the other? Do you have to run both the main and then zigzag with laterals coming off?
Yes. The reason behind that is this, and I'm going to stand up to kind of describe what you're doing. The reason is if this parcel onto that side wants to be developed, they cannot cross your frontage to get to their parcel. So what is required by Indiana Administrative Code is that it is extended and that parcel is covered so that you take care of your responsibility. You can come in and tap off here and run the mains however you want to with the drawings and things like that. But to get the main to the other side, you have to cover your frontage so that you're getting it ready for the next person, the next lot.
That's great to know. And then how long, you said it was somebody, let's say somebody 5 years down the road has another parcel on the other side of this that they want to develop.
Mm-hmm.
Then do they get payments on a full 10 years from when that starts, or are they locked into only the 10-year time frame from the time they started or the time they finished from there on? When does the clock start on that?
So the clock starts when we accept the main from that day. So that you accepted February 1 of 2020, that goes to February 1 of 2030.
Okay.
Now, that is only, Ryan, the key part about that is this. That is for this developer tying onto this main. We collect subsequent connector fees and then the 10-year revenue refunds in that time.
Okay.
Now, there's also another caveat, but I'm just going to throw it out there just in a simple way. It is only up to the amount that we collect for the utility fee. If there's anything over that, we have to stop at that amount where it's capped.
Okay. Yeah, so you can't pay out more than what you've taken in.
That is correct.
Okay, absolutely. And that's just the way the state of Indiana code is when we work with public utilities. I don't think local municipalities that still control their own water, do they fall into those same guidelines with Indiana code, or do they not? I'm just curious.
I am going to answer that the best way I know how to.
Not to put you on the spot, but
It is Indiana Administrative Code. That's where we fall under. For where the rest does, I can't answer for that.
I understand. Not to put you on the spot, I didn't mean to. But
No, I didn't.
it's just a, you know, my brain goes off into all different levels, so we work with some communities that are, that have Indiana American Water, and we work also with local utilities that do not, so, great question. Before we jump into some of the other utilities, is there anybody that maybe has a question or anything along those lines while we're on this topic? It's open here. This is a great learning dialogue back and forth here. So I'm going to ask all sorts of dumb questions. So there's no dumb questions out there. Don't be afraid.
You know, maybe what we, Matt, if we could kind of, how our revenue for construction costs on the subdivision, how does that go?
So it sounds like we might have a few differences there. So we do give a revenue credit up front.
We do need you to use the mic. You're a little soft spoken. And it also helps with the recording.
So for our revenue credits, it's a little bit different. So for residential development, we give a 2.5-year credit up front. So we look at the total construction cost minus the revenue credit, and if there's any left over, that would be the cost to the developer. Commercial is a 4-year revenue credit, so it's a little bit different. But so similar, but slight differences. The one thing I would add, you know, David mentioned, a lot of the cost to extend our facilities is very site specific. And so call us up front, call us early, call us before you start. You know, we can look at all that and make some recommendations for you on the best way to move forward.
I do have a question before we move on to Jennifer, if you don't mind. So, sorry, just keeping this conversation going here. So Thrive also is helping the city of Terre Haute in redevelopment with some former properties around the Indiana State University campus. And the goal of that project, the university didn't have a future use for them, and so they gave them and transferred back over into city hands. And they said, we'd really like to see that get developed into workforce housing. Could be professors, could be, you know, doctors or nurses or manufacturing folks, anybody in the community just around workforce housing. And so we've created a program in conjunction with redevelopment and to really kind of repurpose those properties. So there's 74 of them just kind of north and east of Indiana State University's campus. Those have been vacant lots for quite some time. As we're going to increase the footprint of 74 new housing units over the next 2 years or so with that, what does that look like from a Duke Energy perspective when it comes to capacity on power? Would you have to do transformer updates and upgrades? How would, you know, what's the best way when developers are going in and they're repurposing already existing lots that maybe had homes on them at one point in time and they do not? I use this example because a lot of our communities have open lots in them, and you're now putting something new where there was something once before. How do those folks go about identifying when they need to contact you? Because we know they all have power along the street, but how do we know we're going to have enough capacity?
So it's very similar. So the likelihood of having the capacity is pretty high, but again, it's site specific. And so I'm assuming all these 74 locations are not, you know, just side by side. They're probably spread out throughout the mountain area. So,
some aren't, but they're all, there's still 74 is a large number.
It is. So overall, do we have the capacity to add 74 more homes? Definitely. But if you have individual lots already ready, I would call us. We'll go out, we'll take a look, we'll determine if we need to upgrade transformers, is the wire size big enough, that sort of thing.
Perfect.
But it's really difficult to say today, yes, we have capacity at each individual lot without specifically looking at those lots.
Absolutely.
Overhead and underground.
What's that?
Overhead and underground too. You know,
Yeah.
most of these are probably, I don't know if they'll be overhead or underground service too.
That's a great question. So when we are developing a new subdivision, how do we know whether to do overhead or underground, and when developers are going out there. I'm assuming one is more cost effective than the other, but perhaps not. And is there codes that say you have to do underground versus overhead?
So that's a pretty good question. There really isn't a code that requires either overhead or underground for new residential development. Honestly though, I've never had a request for overhead power for a new residential development. So I suppose we could consider it, but I don't anticipate anyone asking for that, really. Really new residential development, we just go underground.
That sounds great, thank you.
So you're gonna see that the processes for the utilities are pretty much similar across the board. We have a revenue credit, just like the water company and the electric. Ours is a 5.5-year revenue credit. So whatever revenue that you're going to generate over that 5.5 years would be applied towards the total cost of the construction of that project. And if there's a difference, a shortfall, then the developer, the builder, that would be what they're responsible for. But same as with the electric and the water, when you're starting these projects, the earlier that you can get with us and check to make sure that there's infrastructure available and that infrastructure can support your project, the better. And the type of information that we need is we need to know what is that total connected load of your project, what is the delivery pressure for your project, you know, a site plan, is there any future build out so that when we're planning this, we can also plan for your future planning as well. As the question about the 74 developments there, we have no issue, probably no issues with just residential load, but that would be, you know, they would retire the main for any of those demolition. I mean, or was it just cut off with service? Those we would just have to look site specific for each one of those as well. But there should be no issue with just residential.
I appreciate you saying that. I'm curious, this is just a fun question, a little bit for you, Jennifer,
Okay.
but, you know, I took a trip not too long ago out to San Diego and went to the Gaslight District. Can we do, you know, gas overhead into special high-end neighborhoods if they wanted gas-lit lamps? Somebody asked me that question a while ago.
I don't think that.
Is that allowed in Indiana?
Street lamps?
Yeah, within a subdivision. Somebody asked me that a while ago.
There are some gas-lit lamps out there. They're few and far between. We do have some homes that have those on a high-end scale, like Carmel, Noblesville. Woodridge used to have gas-lit lamps at the entrance to its subdivision. I want to say they re-energized those a few years ago. Now, as far as city, town, overhead street lights like that, that would be new on the road. Great question.
Yeah, just somebody asked me that a while back when they were planning on a subdivision, and I was like, well, this is going to be a really high-end subdivision if you're doing gas-lit lamps. But I think they were just thinking out by their entrance they would do something like that. But
Pretty.
it would be pretty, but
Yeah.
it was a new question for me, so I thought I'd save it for today. Thank you.
Couple of questions. As you get out in the country too, remember, especially with Duke Energy, we may be split sites out there. If you look at property, you know, you got UDWI out of Bloomfield, you got Wind Energy, Sullivan. So keep that in mind. You may not just be dealing with Duke out there, so you need to always be sure to contact us. And with Matt and Dusty and Brad, we can find out who serves that area. The other thing too, you know, as you're building new construction, that's why we have our energy efficiency people here today. Take advantage of these programs, folks, and I think you got programs. We all have programs. You're paying for it in the rates. Get it back. Take advantage of the programs we have, and these are great programs. I know we work with the city a lot on the housing they're putting up here, multifamily, residential, but just take advantage of these energy efficiency programs.
Ryan, one more thing. When developers have to take their to area planning, we all get the questionnaire from area planning and respond back to whether there's a main there, what size of main is there, if there's going to require a main extension. And so that is all given when there has to be variances on the zoning parts of that. that information is given to area planning, and Doug, we still get the packets back that give the responses, right? I haven't done that in a while, but I know you're doing that. That in that packet with the variants, there is an explanation in there for the water, the sewer, the electric, everything that goes into that if there is something that needs to take place. So that also comes, you also get information at that point in time too.
No, I appreciate you saying that.
You got a question?
Yes, please.
I have a 25-site mobile home park in Brazil, Indiana. And they're kind of ran down mobile homes that I'm looking to put in new homes, brand new homes in the next couple of years. Anything to keep in mind as far as like on the rebate side, working with the builders, or the way the infrastructure needs to be put in, just things to keep in mind as I go through that process.
So I'll pause right here. This gentleman has a 25-home mobile home park in Clay County. He's looking to upgrade those, and he was here asking about if there was any particular rebates or incentive programs that he should look for when doing that. Did I capture that correctly? Excellent.
I'll start. So just like we said before, as you're designing this plan for these homes, you'll want to get with each one of the utilities so we can make sure that one, if the infrastructure is there, if it is there, can it support it? If it's not there, what's going to be required to support it? And then as far as your rebates, I know as far as for gas, yeah, we have just as general rebates, but then we also have new construction where we'll work with you at the beginning of the project and do a look at it like holistically. I know when we're done with this, Julie's going to email out some rebate application forms and information on the energy efficiency to everybody in the group, so you'll have all that information. And then I've also got just the step-by-step process for new construction, like what that process is, what the timeline, what it is required from us, who to contact, that type of information.
And I do already have engineered plans from you for electrical upgrades. So kind of looking through that a little bit. So really interested in like the rebate process.
So the rebate process, go ahead, address it if you guys want to.
Yeah, we also have a new construction rebate program for builders for the HVAC system, attic insulation, duct sealing, the things that you're doing to improve the energy efficiency of the homes that you're building can earn, cents per kilowatt hour back in a rebate to the builder. So we also have that website that we shared, which will be distributed afterwards, I believe. So, but applying prior to the build and selecting the equipment is the key to getting the maximum rebates.
And if I can add one more thing on that, I'm not a part of Brazil Water. That you can talk to Mayor Wyndham over there, Shawnette. They're great folks. We work with them all the time. Here's the other thing, and not just specifically for your development, but whenever you start, let's say you're going in to repurpose a multi-story building that is, a good example is where Riverfront Lofts Apartments are, over there on First Street. Everybody know where I'm talking about there? Okay, that used to be the old cannery before I was here a long time ago. They went in and they made that a residential apartment complex. If you have a fire service from the water side, if you have a fire service, you've got to bring that fire service up to code. You just can't hook onto it. So that means you're looking at the vaults. That means you're looking at backflow preventers. And so that is another thing that when we talk with people, we start reminding them, you may have to bring things up to code that you're going to repurpose. And I know you guys know that, but it's just a good reminder to have that conversation, especially from the water side, about bringing it up when you start handling fire services, if you're doing multi-housing.
I do have a question within that area because we had a developer come to us about repurposing was once a commercial building where it had office space into residential. Is that when the grandfathered fire code does change when you're switching from the purpose of what it is? But if you kept it in that same purpose vein, would you still need to update water for fire? I'm just curious.
So going back to code, if it changes ownership, it can be required to have to update it to current code.
Excellent, great question, thank you, sir, really appreciate that. Any other questions?
Yeah, don't be shy, it's yours. Come on, go at us.
And can everybody hear the
Is
answers?
everybody happy with all the utilities? Yeah, now it starts with the discussion.
And if we don't know the answer, we're delving it off to Julie. She's our expert.
And just a quick housekeeping question, can everybody hear in the back what the answers that are being discussed without the mic up here, or do you need us to make sure we're using it? It helps with the recording, but I don't know for other reasons. Okay. All right.
Right there.
Thank you, Jared. Go ahead.
Question for gas. On a new subdivision, are we required to, are you guys putting in like dual mains? Or can we still just run one side and have long and short service?
I think we've done dual mains in like the Noblesville area. I'm not sure that we've done them in this area.
Yes, it's case by case. If we believe it's a system benefit overall, we will install dual, but customer pays the least cost option to serve.
Okay.
So developer typically not charged for dual. There could be a unique one-off arrangement, but typically it's just the least cost to serve.
Okay.
Great question. Thank you so much. Any other questions?
I would just add, sometimes the timing, again, you're going to hear the common theme in the timing, right? The earlier we can be in those discussions, and then the timing in the development. So have you poured curb, sidewalk, things of that nature? Is it you're developing one side of a development and then another? So sometimes that can have an effect too. Sometimes we would be better off to run a second main rather than have to do long side, service and whatnot. So a number of variables. It's always again just communicating either with your account rep or whoever you contacted the company. We're happy to guide and make it as least invasive as possible.
And Lee, one more thing on that. If they're doing it in phases, to how that all can work in to be able to do the phases. You may build out phase 1 and then start on phase 2. Those are things that help us, all of us, go into the planning to get it together, because we may want to do everything all at once, it'd be better, or do it in phases and say, okay, we'll take this, get this one in, and you've got a 3 to 6 month window. Whereas you could have a 9 to 12 month window if you do everything.
I think we had a question back here.
Yeah, I have a question for Duke. Working with the Thrive program, you have a certain time frame, of course, to meet in order to get the infrastructure amount back, which is, I think, about a year or something like that or whatever. But I know from us dealing with Duke, their time don't coincide with the Thrive time of doing stuff. So is there a way that, and I don't know, maybe for future things, to where we could figure out a channel to go through in order to make things happen on a faster time? Because when you're building an entire subdivision, we happen to be doing one that's 18 homes right now, and we've had a heck of a time getting Duke Energy to actually, communicate really well with us, and time-wise when it slowed down our process. And I know weather is obviously a factor as well with anything, but there's times when the weather's good that you really got to move forward and you're kind of stuck. So is there some kind of advice you could offer to say, hey, look, if we know it's the Thrive program, we want to try to work with you guys to get this scheduling to work to meet your deadlines, because obviously, anybody in here who's doing Thrive knows that you're deducted if you don't meet a certain time frame. What can we do, or you offer advice to help everybody kind of get with somebody that can motivate a Thrive program operation better?
So I can respond to that the best way I can. I'm not familiar with the specific situation. But again, definitely contact us early, as soon as you can. Some of the challenges that we run into is getting the information back. If you call us up front early, the things we need to know are, the type of home you're building, the square footage, is it going to have gas or heat, electric heat? Really our engineers are unable to even move a project forward until we receive all of that information. Sometimes that has caused
That wasn't
delays.
a problem with us at all, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So having that information up front really helps speed up that process from the get-go. Now, as he was talking about, you know, the 74 individual homes, if it's one individual lot in an existing area, it's a very short time frame just to get a service. If you're talking a new development where we're extending our main lines, it can often be a longer duration than the builders like. Our process, I'm just being honest, our processes are often slower than most of you like to hear. It's a minimum 30 days just to do the initial review, then often another 30 days to get the engineering completed. Over the past, since COVID, we've had some material issues that causes delays. And that's why I think you kind of hear a theme here. Call us up front, call us early. Let's try to get that planning started as quickly as we can. For Duke Energy specifically, I'm not sure about the others, but the engineer that you meet to do the design, that is your contact throughout that entire project. Just to try to simplify that communication.
I think one thing on Terry's partner on the project is once we got everything going and they come out and met with us, he couldn't actually put it in the design until we got our addresses from the county. So we was trying to get how much it was going to cost us on our price, but he couldn't give us a layout until we got our addresses, so that was kind of what was slowing us up.
Yeah.
And once we got the addresses, got them back to him, then he got our price to us.
But then getting them out to run the power was another slow process. Yeah.
What was that? I'm sorry.
So I guess once we got our addresses and he got us back, it still took us about another 2 months to go get the power.
I would even add, if you have to do any type of easements or permitting, that can always, I mean, I don't know in your situation, but in general, that can always add quite a bit of extra time in that.
But I guess what we're looking at, like, so we go out and get a piece of ground and you're working with Vigo County to get it developed. You're trying to get all your costs up front. So we're trying to get something to do where they can't actually do their design until we have addresses.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to come up with the price early in the stages. So when you put all your numbers together, you don't know what Duke's price is going to be. Is there any way of getting it faster?
I'm sure we can find a solution for you to be able to do that. Now, to speed up the actual installation and the entire process, it's difficult to speed that up.
Right, that part wasn't really that bad.
You could be talking several months, really.
Because you're trying to determine what the total costs are for your project.
Up front, yeah.
Up front. Okay.
Which when the engineer come out, chief was good at work with, he couldn't actually put it in design until it had addresses. That kind of delayed everything about 4 months.
Yeah, I have to think through that. So I would say if you have another situation like that, let us know up front and we'll find, you know, a solution.
Who is it we can let know? Not an 888 number, right?
So there's.
Do they speak English? I guess.
I'll text you Rick's cell phone number.
Everyone's got it.
Rick is a good contact. He can usually get a hold of whoever we need. So there's actually a couple options. And I've talked to a few builders about this at Duke Energy, and I'm assuming you guys might be similar, I don't know. So clearly we have our call centers. Everybody has a call center. I haven't really met anyone yet that loves calling call centers. I don't. For other utilities, it's just part of it. We get that. There's also, at Duke Energy on the website, there's a builder portal where you can actually kind of create, I guess, your own account, and you can request services up front on that. That will give you a work order number. It'll give you your contact. It provides some information that you might need throughout the project. It'll show you the different stages of the project. So it's one way to avoid the call center calls. I don't know if anyone's tried that. It might be helpful. Some say it's helpful, some say it's not.
Do they get a local contact once they go through the builder portal and get the work order number? Is it a local contact that is kind of their liaison, or is that still outsourced to a call center?
So if you call through the call center, that will go to our engineering design assistants who will reach out to you personally to schedule an engineering meet, usually on site. And from that point, that designer, that engineer will be your point of contact throughout the project. It is local.
That's great to know. Thank you. I think it's a good question. That was a really good question. I think at the end of the day, these are the kind of things that I didn't even know that, you know, it would get held up by just waiting on your addresses and then how long it takes to get an address. So these are the kind of things that, you know, if we don't talk about and we're not kind of, you know, all working on it together, I think they can cause a lot of frustration and slow down timelines. I think to speak personally on kind of Thrive, you know, with how our deadlines are structured, often we're getting money that's either state or federal funding that's coming through. So it's usually our state or our federal partners who are saying, this is the timeline on what this grant fund looks like. So they're putting a cadence on what we have to do and what our reporting looks like to them, and then when the funds have to be fully expended by. So that's usually kind of the timetable, and depending on how long that funding opportunity has been open, we may still have a little bit of money and you're coming into the tail end, so you have a shorter duration and timeline than what somebody was that maybe got into it right away. So the Ready One funding was probably the quickest funding opportunity that we had, and everything had to be, you know, really pretty buttoned up and completed by the end of 25. We do have opportunities for some flexibility with that. It really just depends on the situation, and it kind of goes project by project. If, you know, the main use of what that funding was already completed, but there's a little bit of paint or trim work, we can flex a little bit, but we have to communicate and get approval through our state funding partners in with that. The next set is the ARPA funding, American Rescue Plan funding. That has a sunset period of 2026. So we push everybody, hey, let's try to get all of that done by September 30th, because we need to have a quarter where we can do all of our reporting and make sure everybody's happy and the federal auditors are happy. That's really who we'd like to keep happy, is all of our auditors. So none of us are paying back, you know, hordes of federal funds because we didn't follow a procedure or a timeline that we should have. The next set of funding that we have going now will be Lily Blight and Ready 2. Those are both state-funded initiatives, and the window on that goes through September 30th of 2028. That is the deadline for the state. So we would probably push that up just a little bit, so it gives us a little leeway. So that way you understand a little bit of the deadlines we set usually aren't driven by us. It's usually driven by the person who's writing the check to us. So.
A couple things. I think most of you have my number, but I'll give you my number if you got it. I'm serious, so I'm not going to be shy. That's what you're here for, and if you're showing up today, I'll be your contact, but you can see the team I have and where I go. So I'm your local guy, so be sure you get my number, and anyone else who wants it, it's there for you. One thing when we're talking about how things come together, this kind of gets with Dusty and Brad here. Brad, kind of explain how we plan our work, maybe, if you would. You know, when it comes in, if you'll stand up and give a little insight there.
In what regards are you referring to, though, Rick?
Yeah, no, well, okay, like right now, we have a lot of work out in front of us, things like that. When the job comes in, we have contractors putting underground in for us, so.
That is correct. Like right now, we have a big project that's down in the industrial park, which is, I'm sure many people have heard about it. It's Intech, it's a battery plant. That is really our main focus right now as far as our internal crews. Now, a lot of times we have certain smaller crews that can break up and do easier jobs that may be overhead services, but we do use a contractor for our underground services. So those are usually about a, you know, don't crucify me here, but those are usually about a 2 to 3 week, maybe 4 week turnaround, depending on what the production level looks like as far as our contractors. So right now we're focusing on kind of the bigger government related, where we get what's that?
TDISC work.
Yeah, TDISC, but what is that? Government major projects and stuff like that, where we're increasing our reliability and making the energy more efficient for certain areas within our distribution lines.
Okay, thank you. There's a process, you know, there is, like anything here. The other thing too, I think one thing we've seen through this storm or through this cold weather, the things we're doing out there on our system improving, self-healing process, replacing poles, transformers, vegetation, getting things away from wires. It's paid off. It's paid off. It really has. And, you know, it's important to keep water flowing. So, and, you know, we all work good together as partners. But I really believe in all my years I've seen a big difference in keeping lights on. And we're going to continue, you know, to keep taking those right-of-ways and keep them down. If we can cut trees down, we're going to cut trees down rather than cutting a limb off. And I believe, Dusty, when you agree, it's paying off. I mean, keeping lights on. Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it at times, major storms, but overall, year in, year out, our reliability is.
And, you know, generation, feel comfortable. Indiana, during the cold times, we kept up with it. We did. We had a lot of little hamsters in those cages turning, but they were working their butts off. But I'm proud of our men and women. Are we perfect? No. But I'm willing to take criticism. Just give me a chance and make it right with my team. And don't go social media on me until I get a chance, okay? And then if you're not happy with me, I'm fair game, okay?
Rick and I spend a lot of time every year around the 4th of July because it's for some reason it seems like we get storms in here that knock our power out for several days around the 4th of July. And I call Rick when the power goes out of the plant so that we can get the water back on and get that rolling. To back to your question, let me just, from a water perspective, and this would be for any water utility that you're working with. We can tell you the distance of what it's going to be, and we can tell you what the kind of requirements would be. So like if you call me and you say, I'm at this subdivision, I'm right here going to this lot, and I know the water main is right here and you've got 2,000 feet, I'm going to tell you so that you can estimate your cost to help you, that you're going to have 2,000 feet of water main, it's going to be 8-inch water main, and it's going to be 5 hydrants on there. That's going to be a blow-off. Now, what you can do in that situation to help you with your estimated cost is, from a water perspective, you can call any one of the contractors. If you're working with Indiana American Water, I'll give you our qualified contractors that we have that are on the list to be able to put in a developer-installed main. Call them. You ask me if you call me and say, what's your estimated cost? I'm going to tell you right now, it costs about $250 to $300 a foot to put in water main, right now. And that can help you with your process. If you need exact numbers, it's going to take a lot longer to be able to get that together. But you can get those estimated costs to help speed up some of those things with getting into contact. Going back to what Rick was talking about, we can start with you locally. We can all talk to you and be able to share things and give you some of that information. Again, it's going to be a high-level view, and then be able to work you through the process to be able to put that together to help when you get to those specifics. When you work with Indiana American Water, you're going to get a drop box, a box portal or whatever they're calling it now. Everything goes through it. You put your plans in, you put your information in, and then it starts the review process. Usually for a water main extension, you're talking minimum of a 30-day for a review. You also have your NOI process, which there is a 30-day window that IDEM will not let you start doing that until that 30-day goes through. And then you're looking at probably about 150 to 180 days to the final completion, to where we take it over, transfer of ownership, and you can start tapping the main. That's the nature of the beast. Now, it can be shorter.
6 months.
Yeah, about 6 months.
So to piggyback off of David here on your question about who to contact and like the cost estimate, we can provide you a high-level cost estimate, so at least you can do your budgeting for the project. But if you need a more detailed cost estimate, that's where we're going to need the address that you were waiting on. And you'll get assigned an account rep. Your account manager will be your point of contact that will work with you for the contractor, for the engineering, and get the schedule. They'll be your point of contact. Probably going to be Tyler here in the front row, so you want to make sure that you connect with him over lunch. Out on the table, I did put a sheet out there with contacts of all the account reps and my business cards out there. So if you can't get a hold of anybody, just feel free to give me a call. we all three work great together, we help each other, and if I don't know the answer, I know who to contact.
One other thing I want to make you aware of too, behind the scene, we have every quarter here with city, county officials. We have a joint utility community group, really. We discuss all these challenges we have, so we're trying to improve as we're working with you guys as builders and contractors out there. But I do want to say hats off to the city and county for we got good partnerships there too. Troy, you got any? You've hit Matt and I up before. You got any thoughts?
Good.
I pay you $100 later. Okay.
Well, thank you all so much. This is really a great round of questioning. One quick question I have before we get ready to break for lunch. When you give high-level cost estimates to developers and they're really trying to do their capital stack to say, is this project a go or a no-go? Would you say that that's usually plus or minus 10% probably on the nose, or do you think it needs a wider area of margin, 25%?
Probably plus or minus 20%.
20%?
Because until you have time to actually go out there and look at the site and actually do a study of it, we're not going to know.
Okay. No, that's great to know. So I think it's just a good rule of thumb when you're estimating plus or minus 20, 25% in there until you get a detailed cost estimate. So thank you all so much. I think our lunch is here, so we would like to thank Indian American Water, Duke Energy, and CenterPoint Energy for providing lunch today. They were our lunch sponsors with this, so thank you all so very much. We're going to move right over to the event center. Restrooms are located right over here. You need to use the restroom, and then we'll go into there for lunch, and we will stay there for the rest of the day, or we moving back here after lunch. We're staying over there for the rest of the day. So go ahead and take everything you have and take it over there. Well, a huge thank you again to CenterPoint Energy, Duke Energy, and Indian American Water for being our gracious lunch sponsors today. That was an excellent meal for Chick-fil-A. You can't ever really go wrong with Chick-fil-A. It's always delicious. This afternoon is going to be a little bit more of what we kind of saw, just with some more direct questions. We can do a little deeper dives into what we're doing. But before we get started, I would like to have a couple members of our local Vigo County and the City of Terre Haute community stand up, introduce themselves, say a few words. Just because if you are doing building and developing in and around this area, those will be the folks you'll be interacting with. So we'll start with Jason. Jason Holler here. Jason, if you want to come up here to the mic, you can, or you can stand and holler. I don't care.
I'm Jason Holler with the City of Terre Haute. I help with all new developments, plan reuse, permitting, licensing, with infrastructure projects. We work with we're unique in cities, so everything we do is internally. Like we do with development, zoning, infrastructure, plan reviews, permitting, licensing. We do it all inspections. We do it all in our own departments. So we're unique in that aspect. So that's pretty much what I do as part of the engineering department.
Thank you, Jason. Marcus, what's you next?
My name is Marcus Meyer. I'm a Terre Haute City engineer. I work with Jason. I'll probably push you towards him if you're looking for a lot of the things he mentioned. In addition to that, engineering also helps with the sanitary sewer utility. So if you have questions about sanitary sewer capacity, availability, what it looks like to extend service to a new development, you would get a hold of us and we'd be happy to help.
Wonderful, thank you. Do we still have Chris Baker? He slid out.
He had to slide out.
He had to slide out, okay. Chris Baker, he was here earlier. He's with City of Terre Haute Redevelopment. So if you're looking to do development in the city and you're going to grab an extra lot, or you're going to want to do some kind of redevelopment, Chris would be an excellent contact to have. Who else do we have in the room from any kind of city or county that would want to stand up and say anything?
I'm Brad Hughes. I'm the Assistant Director of Engineering for the Engineering Department.
Yeah, always good.
Among other things, I take care of a lot of the management of the construction projects, the public works construction. So when we need a utility to relocate, things like that, that's a lot of what I get involved with. So.
Thank you, Brad.
Court Stewart, I'm the highway inspector for the county highway. Reach out to me, let me know your car, anything right away, right
before I came out, there was somebody in the room in there, I think it was Richard Shagler, I think he stepped on out. But there was some questions about county redevelopment commission. Who do they need to get in contact with for the county redevelopment commission? And the reason why I bring that up, we can go through area plan. Okay.
Area planning, is that still Jared Baylor?
Yes.
Okay, so that'd be great. All right, anybody else locally here want to say anything or regionally? Okay. Well, thank you all so much. Really appreciate it. These are really great local partners you're working here with the city of Vigo County. So I think now we're ready to kind of kick off just some additional questions and take a deep dive if we want to do that. We have about another half an hour or so left in the agenda to just go through questions. So I can open the floor and we can start there, or if there are no questions, then I have a few that will be submitted prior to the event today. Jared?
Big question. How do you determine if you will join friends?
The question is, how do you determine if you will joint trench, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's a little bit complex for Duke Energy, and so especially if you're talking underground, so you probably are. So technically, we do not have underground agreements on the trench with other like communication agreements. We do allow it, but we don't necessarily do it ourselves. So if you wanted to go say, fiber, telephone, whatever, in with our trench, you would work through our contract. So essentially, right now, we're already and they could work out those details. Yes. Yeah. So we do allow it, there's like thunder between things like that, with the installation. But it is possible. So the question was, does that increase the time frame? What is the time frame? If you're doing a trench, it can. We haven't done a lot of that here locally in the Terre Haute area. We do quite a bit in Avon, but it seems like we're waiting on the phone cable a lot to be able to get there. So at times it has held up due to being able to install our facilities because we're waiting on their equipment. So again, I would say if you want to do that, contact them early. All utilities are kind of the same. The more notice you can give us, the better. So,
Yeah, I just didn't know if we had to request it, like at least with engineering or like on, if they were.
I would definitely let them know up front. Yeah. Yep. So we can make sure you have all the right contacts.
I would say for the gas, joint trench is not our preferred method, but if there's absolutely no room and that's the only option, we will look for it. We do need 12 inches of separation from the other utility, and it depends what the utility that you're going to have this joint trench with.
All right, that's a great start. Good question. Who's next?
Hey, Rob, can I make a comment about something previously that you talked about real quick?
Sure,
We talked about the 74 lots of infill houses.
Yep.
One of the things that I just want to, from the water perspective, is don't just assume that we've left the water service there. We could have killed that through the projects and things like that. So again, it's one of those things to be able to call in to make sure that the water service is there. In a lot of cases, if it's still there, we're able to reuse that. We may have to do some replacements on our side, but it is not something that would be a cost to the builders. But if we have killed that service, then there could be what we call a connection fee. It's anywhere from about $780 to about $1,300. But just to make sure that that service is still there. If it's there and it's live, you can still use it. If we need to replace it because there's something wrong with the settings or things like that, that would be on us. But if it is a new service that we're going to have to put in, then that, part of that cost is being borne by the developer.
That's a great question. That was a great answer there. What else? Okay, well, I have one here that was initially submitted from one of the participants. I'm not sure who this person still in this room or somebody who didn't make it today. But they wanted to know if there were system development charges or impact fees that builders should expect anywhere here within our region. I know that some of the builders experience those in other communities when they're building. How does that look here? And do the utilities engage with any kind of impact fee, or is that always a local municipality that's enforcing those fees? I don't know the answer to that question. It must be a political question because you're smiling.
I'll start. So for Indian American Water, there are two different things when you think of the fees. The first one is if you can do a developer installed main, there's the cost for you to be able to put the main in that you bear, but then there is what we call the utility fee. That utility fee goes towards the engineering, that goes towards the inspections, that goes through all the parts that we have to do to get that main in ground. So that's on the developer installed main part. Then for connections, there is, it's in the packet. If you pick up one of our packets out there, I think it's in that part of it. It's not, get one of our cards and we'll get that to you. But it is what we call the service connection fee and system development charge. For a 5/8 residential meter, it's roughly about $1,300. What that does is that's where we tap the main, run the service line, put it in the meter pit, and setter and meter, and then you run your line out and we'll join that together so that you can have service. But that is per individual lot. Now, I do want to give you this also. This is another caveat for Indiana American Water so that you can help with your developments. If you go in and you're building a subdivision, and that subdivision is all rental duplexes. Understand what I'm saying? Two duplexes, duplex, duplex. You only get one meter. That is per in our code, it's per our tariff, that you can only have one meter for that house. So therefore, the landlord bears the cost of the service to pay that. However you deal with that with your tenants, you can do it that way. Same from the city, we'll give them the information and you'll get one sewer bill and it goes to the landlord. If it is a multi-unit housing addition, then again, 1 meter per building. And then if you're developing a strip mall, 1 meter. To the gentleman that there you are. So if you were in our service territory and you're putting in a new 25-lot mobile home park, we're only going to give you 1 master meter at the beginning of the park, and you put the services in for that. Those are all in our rules and regs. You can find that at amwater.com. Go on working with us and follow that website. It's also described in the packet out there, some of that part.
I'm glad you said that. I have a follow-up question to one of those. If a private developer, say they were doing a duplex subdivision, if they so chose to bear the cost of that additional $1,300 to put a split, 2 meters, are they allowed to?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir. It's in our tariff that we put in 1 meter per premise, and that premise would be that long.
Thank you. Are there any, I'm just, again, asking questions because I'm just curious here. Are there additional options for private developers where they could then Y off of that, or T off of that, and then put their own separate private meter that they could track and then gives them an accurate way to pass that cost on to their tenants?
Say that has been done. It's a deduct meter. We had nothing to do with that. What they choose to do after the meeting's on them.
Okay.
So I'll give you an example of that. The Gander Mountain building, where Gander Mountain used to be TJ Maxx and TJ Maxx and Ross. I knew Jennifer. I know where that is. That used to be 1 meter that went into the building, 2-inch meter. When they built out and they subdivided the old Gander Mountain building, on the opposite side of the meter, they had on our meter going to the TJ Maxx side. They have what they call the deduct meter. They take that usage and subtract off our bill, and then each tenant can bill.
Any other utilities want to jump in on this question?
I would say the system improvement fee that you were talking about, just the construction costs is the only thing you're gonna have to be gas side. We don't have any additional system fees. You can have multiple meters on one premise, but you can only have one service line. You can have a service line with a multi-meter bank if you've got like a strip mall or a multi-unit housing unit, something like that.
That's great, thank you. And I'm assuming with Duke Energy, everybody gets their own meter. You don't just do a master meter on those units? Individual meters. Okay.
You can't have two service lines on, like residential, commercial, you can't have two service lines on the same property.
Thank you. Any other questions related to that before I jump to the next one? Okay. Another question here that we have. Say you're putting in a residential area right past a commercially fed place. Can you then extend that commercial line that's there to feed residential and come off of it? Say, for example, they wanted to build something right past an industrial park, and you already have a 10-inch main that's feeding that park. Can they then tee off of that main and then feed residential, and they just pay from whatever that tap is to that main out? Correct? Is that allowable, or can you not do that? Can you not mix commercial and residential use on the same line?
We mix it all the time.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Questions that were populated through the initial assignment. How are cost sharing agreements handled when infrastructure upgrades are needed? So, you want me to go further in that, or? Okay, so say for example, you might look at this, water is probably usually a great example with this. It may call for a 6-inch line to feed whatever development is going to be coming to, but for whatever reason, like to upgrade it to an 8 or a 10-inch line, a higher line to then feed what future development is going to look like. How does that look in cost sharing agreements?
No remaining extension. We will not install anything less than an 8-inch main. That is a requirement. That gets you for your fire flows, things like that, have fire protection. So if we come in and you only need an 8-inch main to feed your development, but because we see future growth down the road going into a commercial type situation, and we say that it needs to be a 12-inch main, we will pay you to install the 12-inch main upside and charge the difference between the 12 and 14. Does that make sense? I actually got that question in the room before I walked out.
That's great.
Any follow up on that?
I don't need to follow up. Anybody out there need any follow up on that? Okay.
So we charge customers a good spot option.
Gotta go out.
So if it's going to take let's say a 2-inch main to serve your development, but we see that there's a future plan out there for commercial development or whatever, and we want to install a 4 or 6-inch main, we will charge you for the 2-inch, and we will do what we call distribution equipment credit for the 4, 6, 8, whatever. So you will not burden that cost without an oversized main. You will only pay what it costs for you to serve your site.
Thank you. Anything to do, or you guys are all good?
I think we're good. I mean, we usually have voltage and everything, but we can both decide.
Yeah. That sounds great. I will have a couple more questions, I think, kind of left on what was submitted prior to this meeting. So, does the audience have any other questions before I kind of get through these last few? We might end a few minutes early if we do. You have something? Yep, you. Oh, okay. You had that look and you kind of raised your finger, so I went to her. Okay. I just wanted to make sure. Yes, sir.
For our benefit, I know that there are several groups of developers here, builders. Could we just kind of have one representative from each of the groups kind of introduce themselves to us so that we can put the faces? I see a lot of developers and a lot of builders come here that I
barrier. So, but what the question is do you mind, individually standing up, introducing who you are with your builder group, what kind of projects you're working on, and share a little information for the utility so they can put a face to the name. Okay, who wants to go first? Who's the brave one? There we go.
I'll stand up there. That's all. I'm Jerry Cunningham with OTD Development Group. This is Tom Graham with OTD Development Group. This is my wife Tracy with OTD Development Group. This is Chuck Wiley with OTD Development Group. And we do from infrastructure to the buildings for subdivisions, even water lines, sewer lines. Anybody has anything like that they need ran to their new developments, we'll handle all that as well. We're currently doing a 18-home new development in east part of Sealyville area, and there used to be railroad tracks, so we cut in the new roads, ran all the sewer lines, and mainly, my wife and I, we live in Florida, so we're here in Colton. Tommy and Chuck are up here all the time, and they would be the ones dealing with everybody mainly, but my wife and I make several trips a year back and forth. So Tom and Chuck would be your main people that will be calling you guys for any of that stuff.
Thank you.
Bill from Florida too? Yeah, correct. Yeah. Yeah, Duke Energy's down there in some areas.
You're stuck with us, aren't you?
Yeah.
I bet your pole depths are a lot different down there than they are here at Covenant.
That's right.
All right, next.
I'm Zach Wagner. I have a mobile home park in Brazil and a mobile home park in Worthington. Just redeveloping the parks that I have, and I'm also a middle school principal. So
That's wonderful, thank you. All right.
I'm John Zay with Drive Alliance out of Columbus, Indiana. I'm the housing development manager. We have a project that we've just started on called Heritage Landing. It's 56 units of senior housing that we started on here.
It's off of and off 25th and Locust there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a great project. Definitely needed. Who else? Jared.
Jared Trable, I'm in local construction management. Preston's here with me. We're based out of Greencastle. We have a subdivision we're getting ready to start on down here in Terre Haute. We predominantly work here as well as we have a apartment complex and a single family development also getting ready to start up in Croptorsville. So single and multi-family.
I'll see you there, Jared.
Perfect. All right. Who's next? Who have we missed? Any other builders or developers in the room? Troy left. I think some of our other ones left and slid out already. Anybody else that miss it? Okay, well, thank you guys. Really appreciating kind of connecting the dots there, put the names in the face. So make sure before you leave today, you've kind of met the different utility partners and got their contact info, because I think they'll definitely be huge helps in your projects. So one of the last questions that I have here is, what's the long-term planning horizon for this region from a utility perspective? And could you speak to a little bit, what do those plans look like? We follow a lot of the population demographics. Our population's been kind of steady, but I can tell you, I'm really hoping we're going to see a nice jump in population based on all this housing that we've been developing. So we'll have to wait till 2030, 2031 to see that. But I'm really hoping the next census we're going to see a big change. So, Greg?
Good question. I can say on behalf of Duke, we, like you heard me say earlier, we are upgrading our facilities, but we're planning for the future too. Good example on the east side, Margaret Avenue, the growth is out there. We're expanding, places out there like that. We have a program, it's called TUG program. We're putting a lot of things, some areas we're putting underground. That's always troubled areas for us of reliability. I believe on Deming Park area, Matt, we were talking, and Crystal Wood. Yeah. So, we're looking at those type of things. Serving on the school board too, I hope we see a population growth here, folks. If we don't, we're going to die.
we gotta get demographics up here, and homes we need. And, you know, we need companies here too. And I want to share this story with you, just a school board. I don't know, it's probably 6 or 8 months ago. We were in the final two between Columbus, Indiana, and here. And I was hosting the 3 owners of the property, or the company. They were the decision makers. And all of a sudden they said, we want to go to one of your high schools. And I thought, shit, which one we going to? Seriously. So we went to South, walked in there. Right to your right was bathroom out of order, triangle piece laying on the floor there. And so they said, we want to see your science labs. 1970s when I graduated from high school, same thing. 20 minutes in, they said, we're ready to go. We get my card, and they said, you know, you have a great staff, teachers, kids, students here. You really do. Your schools suck. And they ended up going to Columbus, 200 jobs, 6-figure jobs. And I can tell you that's happening all the time here. So my promotion is we got to do something with our schools. We are trying to get that done, not raise taxes, because I think the casino, what we got for bonding power at our schools, we can put a chunk into, and the county can help here too. I served on the county council 4 years. They're sitting on $45 million. They could do a lot more for these communities here, I'll tell you that. And I'm going to fight for it too. So the planning is real important. The other thing I'll end on, Cuyahoga Generating Station, just right up the road here from us. Big project, $3 billion. Natural gas, coal's going away. But that's an investment our company's making for the future here, because coal's not really the thing. The environmentalists is tearing us up. And gas is a good product too. I mean, great partnership with CenterPoint here. So that is going to affect rates though. I'm not going to sit up here and say it's not, you know, rates are going to go down. But you'll see probably 3 or 5% in the next 3 or 4 years. But it's got to happen, because it's like roads and bridges in our country right now. They were built many years ago, and that infrastructure is just falling apart. Same thing in our systems, you know, whether it be gas or water. So just let you know, there's good things happening here. I will let you know that too. There are. So, yeah, that's it. I appreciate it. Yeah.
I would say for us, probably the last, I don't know, 7, 8 years, you saw all the yellow Miller pipeline trucks in the community. We have just finished, I think it was last year, replacing all of our old bare steel cast iron pipe. We've replaced 100 miles of it here in Terre Haute with new plastic. So that's good for Terre Haute, because as we did that, if we knew if there was any, you know, if we knew that there was any development coming, we would try to plan for that. Just like out east with the casino. Really, when the Walmart came out there, I think that was almost 10 years ago, we really started building a master plan because we knew that area was going to develop. So as each one of those retail places and the casino and the fire and we get the airport out there and the Milestone asphalt plant, as we build all that, we're planning for future development out there. The Welcome Center out on I-70, we worked with NDOT, and there was a couple different routes that we could serve the Welcome Center. We had to run about 1.5 miles, but we chose a route that would, in West Terre Haute, that would provide gas to more of the residential folks out there. So it's not like Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. We have to have an anchor first. We are always looking ahead of what we can do as we're going.
Thank you, Jennifer. Are you going to tell me that your motto is it's the Field of Dreams? We're going to just build it and everything's going to come?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was trying to get people excited.
No. Well, so we have every 5 years we do what's called a comprehensive plan study. And we take into the account growth, looking at the different things that are going on, and we plan out based on that modeling for everything there. Now, we also understand that everybody's coming in to be able to plan to look at some of that growth, to be able to try to help that out, planning ahead. You know, if we had to put in new wells and new filters or even a new plant, you're talking minimum of 18 months to get that going, to get that taken care of. So there's a lot of behind the scenes that go on. And again, we've all said it, the more we know early, the better off we are to be able to look at that and get those plans together. I like Rick like to tell stories. I moved here in 2014. My first day in Terre Haute, being the superintendent of Terre Haute operations, was December the 7th, 2014, Pearl Harbor. And I got here, and I can tell you, I moved here from Muncie, and the people in Muncie were like, why do you want to move there? Number one, it stinks. Their sewer stinks. Number two, they've got a terrible federal prison. And number three, it's terrible Haute. I am so thankful I do not hear those last two words anymore. We are not terrible Haute anymore. We have a lot of things going on that are exciting, that are happening, and it's all because of the people that are putting their investments in here and doing those things. I'm excited about what's going on, what we've seen come in, what we have the opportunity to do, and the things that we have the opportunity to be a part of. And it's all because of the people that are in this room. Thrive's initiatives. Ryan, I appreciate your leadership, bud. It's exciting to think that we've made an opportunity to help builders and help developments come in, and we're trying to see what we can do more. I'm excited about what's going on with the schools, Rick. It's not comfortable. It's not comfortable. But we're taking and addressing those things. We see the needs of what's going on in our community. We need housing. We need to update things. We need to get things taken care of. There are exciting things happening within our community that we're all a part of. An air show, August 22. So, with that being said, is this the last step? Can I say something to kind of be the close type situation? Absolutely. Okay. So, just so you kind of know a little bit of background how this happened. This all happened over coffee at where were we at, Julie? Where did we meet that day?
Were we at Maggie and Mo's?
No, we were at the pie company. The pie company.
It wasn't coffee.
Yeah, this was coffee because it was business.
We're happy to do that because for us to help you, we've got to know what's going on and get that taken care of. So that's all I've got, right?
I think that's a terrific place to do it. Thank you so much. And I think, I want to echo that it truly is a team effort, and it's a community effort that we're all doing this. Do we all get it right every day? Are there days we wish we did stuff a little different? Yeah. But I can tell you what, we all keep coming back to the table, we all keep talking, we all keep trying to find ways to move these projects forward. Even when they seem almost impossible at times, we still keep digging back down and saying, how can we make it better? And that's what it takes. So I just want to say thank you all so much again for coming and spending part of your day with us. I know you have other things you could be doing, but you chose to be here and ask a lot of questions. We really appreciate it. All of us will be around, so thank you all. Go meet and greet a little bit more, and then we'll slide out of here and go about our merry ways. Thank you.